Hello creative friends, this tutorial is a companion to the watercolor kits I sell at markets and online. This is the second one of this type with a different color combination. Within the kit is a palette with 3 colors. They're dry. I'm going to activate the pigments with some water and then create a color palette swatch with the watercolor strip that is part of the kit. My first color swatch is the darkest pigment. I wet my pigment with a little watercolor and then paint a rectangle on my swatch paper. For the next example rectangle, I'll lighten up my pigment by placing purple pigment into an empty well and add more water to dilute it. And then for the third rectangle, I'll add even more water to make it very light purple. I do the same with the indigo and the olive. It's important to do this as a reminder that the watercolor pigments offer such a variety of values that I can use throughout my watercolor project. So as you paint, you can determine just about how much water you need to add to get the look that you want. The cards in this kit are pre-printed, but even if you don't have the kit, you could follow along and paint with whatever colors you like. The pre-printed designs do make it easier, so if you'd like to order a kit, check out our website. During market weekends, I do take all the kits to my booth to sell, but feel free to reach out to me if you'd like me to hold one back for you if you don't find them online. For the daisy-like preprint, I use light purple pigment and color in each petal all around the flower. Then I dip my wet brush directly into the dark pigment and dab my brush tip into the center of the flower. If you do this right away as your petals are still wet, the dark pigment should spread out organically up into each petal. I let the purple flowers completely dry and move on to the next flower, the peony. You can see that I did the larger flower here so that you could see as I'm going around this smaller flower what it'll look like in the end. For the peony, I want a light wash of indigo to cover each flower. I'm using light enough watercolor paint so that the design still shows through, and then I'm going to let this dry completely. As the peony dries, I'm going to go back into my purple flower here and paint on the olive green stems just with the tip of my number 6 brush here that's included in your kit. And then I'm going to go in and color in the leaves with pigment. Just take your time on this. Make sure you have plenty of water in your brush as well. As that dries, I'm going to move over to the mushroom designs. I'm using that lovely dark olive in the color palette that you receive in the kit for the stems. You have a creative choice here to go light, medium, dark, or a combination of both of those tones or values. I went with a medium with a few dark places here and there. Now that my blue peony is completely dry, I'm going to go back in with darker pigment of the indigo and fill in a few sections. Note that I don't let the sections touch each other, but I want them to dry completely so that they don't bleed into each other and a distinction between the petals is created. I'm going in now with a light blue to fill in the body of the mushroom top. I'm being careful to use a light wash so that I can still see the little dots to paint later on. If you go too dark and cover up the dots, it's okay, don't worry. You just need to use the darker paint later after it's dry. You could use the dark blue or the olive or the purple if you'd like here. As you've seen in this video, I go back and forth between the 3 different designs, and that's actually why I put 3 different designs in my watercolor kits, is just for the variety and so that you can learn different techniques, but it allows for built-in drying time so that you don't eagerly go back in and bleed in your colors to each other. So it helps with that a little bit. Now that my peony is mostly dry, at least the outer edges of my sections are dry, so I'm going to go back in and fill in some more little sections here. By waiting until these sections dry, it really does add some depth and dimension to these peonies. Just take your time and go slow and fill in. And if you lose sight of your lines at all, it's okay. Just fill in over the lighter blue with your darker pigment. I'm just going to go back in and add a little texture and dimension to these purple flowers just by dabbing in some little dots in the center. They're very, very tiny, but they just add a little bit of a pop. I like to add a little darker green on the mushroom stem on one side just to show a little bit of shadowing. I think it adds a nice little touch. Now it's time for my favorite, most satisfying part, the dots on the mushrooms. I think this gives us a little character and whimsy. You'll want to make sure that your mushroom tops are completely dry or the dots will bleed into the mushroom and into each other. Don't worry about making these perfectly circular. Just place them over the pre-drawn circles and fill them in as you go. Use darker pigments to make them stand out even more. I like to use some dark indigo to paint in the little section underneath my mushrooms to give a little bit more dimension, but you could use green here or even the indigo or whatever you like. This is your chance to be super creative. Finally, it's on to the last card, and we're going to finish off this peony by filling in the stems and the leaves here. I just think this trio is so darling. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments what color choices you would make or change differently from mine. And also, there's another video of the same pre-drawn designs with another color palette, so be sure to check that out and follow along for more tutorials.